Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning. This is the beginning of a short course on introduction to AI, looking at foundational aspects of AI and also integration of practical topics to reinforce what topics will be discussed. So, to begin with our discussion, this is a quick recap or a quick highlight of what this session is about. The target is for complete beginners who have no prior coding or AI knowledge or are hearing about AI passively. And anyone who needs a refresher about AI, even if you have engaged with that in the past. The goal is basically to help you in achieving solid background understanding of AI, machine learning, and state of the art large language models, otherwise known as LLMs. So the format now we have access to lots of generative AI that you can generate things on the fly and do some complex analysis. But it is important to understand and know the basics of how some of these practical concepts are being conducted, right? So the format of this short courses will be we have the actual topics of the lecture that are being discussed, and also we have optional practical activities with some relevant playground demonstrating the topics that have been discussed, going through the code, explaining what the code is doing. This is important if you haven't worked with any machine learning model or related AI techniques to be able to see what is beneath the actual um, results that we normally observe when we engage with these models, right? So we aim to achieve conceptual clarity and also ensure that we have hands-on engagement that will reinforce the topics. So we will be using Python as a language for developing the practical activities. Key libraries, those all the standard libraries will be utilized, scikit-learn, pandas, transformers, touch, TensorFlow, Streamlit, which will provide the sort of interactive environment that you can play around with the practical topics. Yeah, so a link to the Streamlit interactive app will be provided so that you can play around, change the values, see the actual code, what is happening, tinkering with some of the values, and then getting a good understanding of how the models are developed at the basic level. So no coding or writing is required for co-understanding. Once you develop the understanding and the motivation, then the window will be open for you to, explore more, get your hands dirty to learn more about the coding. So we will also have access to Jupyter Notebook as well to demonstrate some of these practical activities. And if you have Google account, you have access to Google Colab, which is free, requires no installation, and you also have access to GPU if you want to do relatively high computational task, right? So, but you need, of course, internet access since it's a cloud-based environment, right? So we will provide the link at the end of each lecture session to access the interactive environment, which is being hosted on both Streamlit Cloud and also Hugging Face spaces. We also have additional information to be hosted on the project GitHub. So, uh, The first thing here is about the setup and also why and how some of these approaches that we already pointed out will be considered, right? So we begin with a basic understanding of what is AI, artificial intelligence, what is machine learning, and also deep learning, and what is the relationship between this concept when we talk of AI, machine learning, and also deep learning, what relates them, and also some real world examples, how, and also we'll provide a walkthrough in terms of how to use the playground and also the Google Colab that will be used as a support. Um, for the practical session, this is a basic approach to naming of the files to make it more structured. So we use the actual module and also the index of the module and then a brief title, what that is, and then this, of course, is the file extension. So the Jupyter Notebook will have end-to-end example of how to run and manage the practical aspects. So the second module will be around the foundation, how machines actually learn, what is what do we mean by machine learning, and also what does it mean for a machine or a model to learn, and then look at the idea of patterns, what are these patterns, and also using data to find patterns. And then we'll introduce the key concepts in machine learning: regression, classification, clustering. Regression is basically any task that needs predicting a continuous value such as price, house prices, or salary, or classification if you need to put items into distinct classes like one or two, or maybe something whether should belong to this group or should belong to the other group. You might have a binary class like in spam or not spam, or we can have multiple classification where we have three or more classes. Then we do have clustering, which basically cluster or group items into clusters depending on the problem domain, right? So we will look at what do we mean by training and also testing. And then, of course, we also have the file naming convention, which will have the index for the module and also a brief title for the module, and then the Jupyter Notebook essential extension, sorry. And then we also have the Streamlit app, which gives you an interactive environment to play around and change the values on the fly to see how the changes are affected. And then in the second module, we will look at neural networks in general, to see a basic form of neuron and also the limitation of such single neuron, and also the motivation behind the idea of neural networks, which is basically inspired by the human brain. And then also look at how learning takes place in neural network, and also how mistakes are essential in reinforcing learning. We will also introduce the engine that is responsible for the training to happen. And then what do we mean in when talking about deep learning? Then what is the deep in this context, and what does that entail? And the practical focus, of course, we'll look at some examples involving using the quintessential example of um, digital recognition to see how neural network is built to learn digits from 0 to 9. We have the corresponding Streamlit app and also the Jupyter notebook. And then we also have the module on understanding NLP, natural language processing, and large language models. This another broad group that we will look at.